Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Matthew Terry, founder and CEO of Suade, and welcome to People in Sales, Not Salespeople, where we analyze the person behind the salesperson. I'm so excited to introduce you all to Joran. Joran, how are you doing today?
Doing good, doing good. Thank you.
Yes. Founder and of Redditus. I
Yeah.
apologize. Super excited to dive into that. But what I would love to do is start all the way back from the beginning and really just dive into your story because I believe you have a unique one, very unique one. You've been a sales executive, account manager, head of customer success. Done tons of different founder and startup type things. Hasn't raised money before. And I just want to like understand kind of the tips and tricks and just your experience through it all. So we'll just dive right into the beginning. You started out in Skitart, and tell me about a Skitart and what you did there and how it went.
Yeah. Yeah. Skeet art is basically like it's a famous pie in a region where I grew up, basically. So it's like really local. But everybody knew that pie. Like I think everybody has a business, right? Which is really famous. Like you have this one thing you really love about your own region. The bakery who made it, he retired, and then he got taken over, and that guy went bankrupt. But the clever thing he did, he actually made that pie a trademark or a registered trademark. So I learned when I had my do you call it like anniversary for, or like I was my birthday, sorry. I wanted to buy a ski art. I could not find it. So I was like, what happened? As in because I've been talking about it for weeks, and I thought like, let me just buy a ski art for the people at the office.
Gonna do
Wasn't
it.
really able to find it, and I found like something similar. But then when I brought it to the office, it was still frozen. It wasn't the right experience. So I kind of digged into like what happened. And then I learned that the guy retired. He got taken over. Then the guy went bankrupt. But also noticed that the trademarks were at this place where you go bankrupt. They hold it, right, and people can bid on it, actually buy it. So with my crazy face, I just thought like let's just do a bid. I started really low. I think I just offered like 500 euros or something like that. But the
Hmm.
curator said like, yeah, no, we're not gonna do it. I was like, well, give me a number then. Like, what are you thinking? So in the end, a couple conversations. I bought the trademark. I built a website. Found a bakery who wants to bake the pie for me, and in the end, I did the drop shipping with a pie basically.
Drop shipping with a pie. That's amazing. So you bought this trademark, and was the recipe like online or something like that?
No, like we found I mean, in the end, everybody could make it, but I think like how it got made, we found the guy who made the bottoms of the pie. Like it was a factory up north in the Netherlands, so we agreed with him that he's gonna bake them again for this bakery. So he got the real rights, I guess, to use the real the bottoms. So people loved it again. Like I went to Christmas markets again, and people
Okay.
purchased it. Like I
Loved
even with Christmas mornings, I would drive in my own car, bring people the pie, and then go to Christmas dinners after.
it. That's incredible. I love that, man. What happened to it?
I mean, I was working full time, and getting a commission on a pie like isn't really good business, I guess, because you have to sell a lot of them, and it was local, so and it was local tied to the bakery. So in the end, I ended up selling it again towards the guy who made the bottoms to the company. I mean, made like if you practically look at made some profits, like a couple of thousand, but then I spent so much money on building the website, stuff like that. So I probably not even were break even at the end. But it was, I guess, my first experience of being an entrepreneur.
Right. And I think it's a complete win, man. Like you went out there, you got the trademark, you made pies, people were buying them, and the hard part was it wasn't getting sales or like, selling the pies. It was just probably the margins
Oh,
and the amount of work you had to put in. And then you
yeah.
ended up selling it. So really, you got to exit a founder on your
Ah,
first go.
it's actually funny. I never say I have an exit, but I guess if you consider it like that, I have one, I guess.
You got to exit. Pat yourself on the back. I think that's incredible. I love when people just go out, they have a problem and um they just take it upon themselves to be like, you know what, I know how to solve this. Let me just do it
Hmm.
myself, right? Stop waiting on people. That's the entrepreneurship mindset, man. I love that. Okay, Skeetar. All right, so that's number one.
Yeah.
Then you move to Yabbers.
Yeah.
Um,
And
before you speak on Yabbers, a lot of the people going to be listening to this are in America, and I would love to zoom out and kind of give a background on like where you are, where you're calling in from, and um, and just kind of like give a background on you just for 2 minutes here.
yeah. Then before I guess my work, things, I'm from the Netherlands, Utrecht. I did my internships internationally. So I did my first one in Australia, Sydney. I might dive into that as well because that's like a fun sales story. And then I did my second internship in Indianapolis. Did a sales job there as well, or sales internship. So kind of, I guess, like I mean, most of my life I lived in Europe, of course, in the Netherlands. Come from a really small town, and then I wanted to see what's out there more. So I decided to start traveling a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. Where'd you go to college?
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you got the internships. First one's in Australia. Tell me about that one.
It was really it's a fun story, I guess. Like I thought like my English was really terrible in college. Like I think I got a 5 out of 10 due to our graduate system. So I thought like, okay, how can I prove it just by talking English all day? So I ended up just getting an internship in Australia. Didn't prepare anything for it. So I just took a flight, booked the first 3 days of a
Oh
hostel,
man.
and then just flew there. And then I thought I will figure out over there like how can I actually get a place to stay. So that was fun. I worked in a company who organized like sports competitions in the lunch breaks of office people. So imagine you're working in an office and you want to play Samsung against Sony during a lunch break, basically play like football, soccer, or touch footy, anything like that. We organized those competitions. But my role was, I guess, like operational, so setting everything up, and I was able to play some soccer as well during lunch breaks as well. But like the fun thing, I guess, the fun sales story is that that guy, that owner, like he was tough. He was an Aussie, and he just like just wanted to make you, I guess, in this salesperson. So what he would do is he just put me in front of this building, like go in and go sell basically the competition to this company. Like ask for the HR manager and then
Mhm.
pitch. Like
In
okay,
person.
in person, like
Just said,
actually
walk through
just
those doors. Good luck. Wow.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So that was, I guess, my first hard way of learning to do sales, basically. And it was, I mean, it wasn't fun at the beginning,
Mhm,
but I think as soon as you actually people came downstairs, like I didn't expect them to come down, but if you ask for a certain person, they actually
mhm.
come down, and then they were okay having a conversation. And then I was like, oh, this is actually not too bad.
Yeah. But I mean, you probably had broken English at that time, no?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't great, but it's also a good way for an icebreaker as well. So it's like
Right. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm here with this company. Let me tell you about it.
yeah,
That's
and he just
work it
forces
off.
me to come in and sell you something, and it's like, oh yeah, this is awesome. So it's like you can always make a joke out of things and then actually make it into your advantage.
That's a good point. You can always, I'm writing that down. Because I'm working with a couple outsourced sales firms that stopped cold calling because a lot of their people had accents. And I
Hmm.
was like, there is a way to overcome that accent. You just have to be like authentic about, hey, I have an accent. Is
Yeah.
that going to be a problem? Do you want to just hang up now, or can you give me time of day, like at least 30 seconds, sir? And you can always make a joke out of something. You just go write that down.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly.
So that's good. And then you also bring up another point around field sales, in-person sales.
Yeah.
A lot of people doing online, cold call, email, LinkedIn type sales. What do you think about how effective in-person sales is versus online?
Yeah, like I mean, I have a completely different opinion now, I guess. Like I don't think it's gonna be that effective. Like it was fun to do, but it's not scalable at all, right? As in, like you have to go somewhere, knock on people's door, actually do things. Like it depends, of course. I'm not sure who the listeners are, but what kind of sales you do. But if you're doing anything B2B related, then like I wouldn't, I personally wouldn't do it myself right now. Like maybe to get your, I think I heard somebody say like it's a great way to get your first 10 clients in. For example, if you sell something really specific towards a certain industry, you might want to build up that connection. But if you want to go beyond that, then it's just not scalable. Like you have to find other ways.
That's true. There, in my opinion, There's a lot of noise out there, and it's going to become more
Yeah,
noise, AI stuff. So, how do you differentiate yourself? And I talked to a sales leader once, and he said you can't fake showing up. You can't automate or AIify actually knocking on somebody's door. And he thought that that was gonna be the future of sales and conversations. Was like you just have to show up in person and show them that you're authentic and you're actually here to help, not
yeah.
just trying. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting, I guess, but like I'm coming from SaaS, so like you always look at your customer acquisition cost, right? So how much people are you able to talk to in a day? How much does it cost you to have that salesperson actually go there? And how much is he able to close from all the conversations he has? So if the math works out, then it could work out as well. But I would always keep that in mind, I guess.
Oh yeah, for sure. If you're selling a SaaS product, $30 a month per seat, it probably makes sense to go
Yeah,
and knock on a whole bunch of doors. But if it's like 200,000 a year, for a big, enterprise, then it could
yeah.
potentially. So okay, cool. Appreciate you diving us into your experience in Australia. I love that. You can always make a joke out of something. That is going to be tagline for this for sure.
Nice,
Um,
nice.
but after Skeeters, you went to Yabbers.
Yeah, yeah. So after I did the two abroad internships, I came back to the Netherlands. I studied sports marketing, so basically like commercial economics, but then with sports examples. So my first idea was I'm just going to work at this sports company. So I applied to Nike, which is like a European headquarters here in the Netherlands, some other big brands. But if you don't have the network, I guess, in your own country, or at least like within those brands, there's no way you come in. So I ended up at Jaarbeurs, which is like a really corporate organization in Utrecht. Did cold outbound sales basically. So like it was the typical cold outbound you can do. So I had to do like I think 60 attempts per day or something like that. Call attempts, like have to have 23 qualitative calls, which were basically um, looking at how much time were you on the phone with somebody. And then, of course, you had your targets where you actually have to close the deal. So we did close the deal all the way from, I guess, like calling to actually closing. So we were able to sell as well.
Hmm.
That was nice, but it was a fun experience because I had months where I like achieved my target maybe 200% or like 150%, and then I still got fussed about like why didn't you reach your call targets? I was like, well, I'm making invoices, I'm trying to close deals. So that was
I'm trying to pick up the phone and keep,
yeah.
that's not fair, but keep going.
No, so that's that. I mean, that's what I thought as well, but I didn't really care about it. It's like, well, if my end number is good, then it's fine, right? So, like, why do you care about the input if the output is good? So, I think that's when I learned, like, it's not always about the input as long as the output is good, and no matter how you do it. Um, and the other thing I wanted to say, can't remember now what I wanted to say. But that's kind of like how I got into cold outreach, and I think like when people do this, like I had days where it just didn't work, right? You could be really good, but yet days like if you get a no, and I think I read it a couple of times now, like if you get a no, step away from your computer and I guess have a walk, have a chat with somebody. Because I think I had a day where I had three people saying almost no within the first 10 seconds without even me saying anything. I think that like it's almost the bad karma you have. Like if you have that vibe and you're not enthusiastic anymore or into it, then it doesn't make any sense to pick up that phone. So
That's totally true. If your mindset going into a call is, oh man, I just
yeah,
got to know this person's probably going to tell me no too. The odds that they tell you no because of your tone of voice and all that stuff is just going to skyrocket. So
yeah,
I agree with that. But if you just got like two yeses, you're like, wait a second, everybody loves this product. What do I got to be
exactly.
afraid of? Then like, your probability of yeses is going to rise as well. So that's definitely true.
Yeah, yeah. And I think like you will hear it as well. Like they had these cheesy things where you have like put a smile on your face, things like that. But in the end, it does work, right? Because we're smiling, it's probably easier to listen to than if we're just thinking like we have to do this.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Totally agree. And I still cold call for my company now. I led an outreach team for the last company I worked with, and I did that before every call. I throw on a smile. It will kind of lift your spirits. It's kind of strange. It's weird the first time you do it, but it works.
Yeah.
that enthusiasm in the voice that you need. So that's super awesome, man. I love that you were in the cold outreach space. Did you like it? Did you like kind of the adrenaline, or like what was? You just tell me about your experience emotionally with cold outreach.
Um, I yeah, what can I say? I mean, I think it was a good learning. I think it was fun to do because we had a good group of young people. So I think the vibe around doing it was really nice. I think it's like it has been determining my success now because like you take that steel plate in front of your face away, like as we say that's like there's always a steel plate, right? There's no shame anymore by picking up the phone if you do it like all day long. I wouldn't say I thought it was really fun, I guess, to do, but it I did see it was a really nice way to just get that done, and then it will help me a lot later down the line. So um, the fun part is like I always had this envision because the next step would be is to become an account manager. Because the thing I didn't like is that I close these deals, you kind of build up a relationship because we did the entire deal, and then you move it on to this account manager, and he takes things over, right? Where I was like, yeah, I built this up the relationship, had all
Yeah,
these calls, and now he's just taking over. So I became account manager, I think, after 2.5 years or something like that. And I think I left maybe like a half a year later or something like that. Because when I thought like, is this actually it? And that was kind of like almost the end of the line because there were no future steps. Was
right.
early in my career, so I was like, yeah, is this actually it? Did I guess, do everything to get here, and now I'm here? Is this
And
going to be my life? So in the end, I
yeah, I get it.
left pretty quickly.
Okay. I can definitely resonate with that. When you can visualize the next like 4 or 5 years of your life and it's all the same, there's no promotion, there's no next step, there's nothing to kind of run towards. You're just like, well,
Yeah.
now what? I think it's time to get think it's time to get going. So I
Yeah, and especially when things are like when corporations are big, right? There's all these rules. Like HR has rules for everything. Like that company had an HR department of I think like 11 or 10 people. Like I realized for myself, if HR is so big, then it's probably not the right company for me. Like that's kind of my philosophy now.
interesting. I never really thought about it like that, but yeah, the HR is to a point where it's stable. There's a lot of people in there. There's probably not going to be a lot of room for growth
Yeah.
because they're higher for that role or you know.
Yeah, but there's just a lot of rules, I guess. Like I like the startup lifestyle, so I don't personally have anything against HR, I guess. I just like when you're bigger, you need to have it, but it's just it comes with all these rules, and like I learned it in like companies later down the line as well, where one point I was like, okay, this is my time maybe to leave as well.
Tell me a bit more about that, about the rules and like the downside of.
Um, like for example, I mean, for example, with the first example, like there were I think two gradations in being like an account manager or something like that, and it was just on paper, right? I got the salary of already like being the highest one because when you reach your targets, you will get upgraded and you will get the benefits of it, but like they weren't able to give me the title just because I guess they were only allowing X amount of people within the organization who have that title. It's like, oh, I'm doing the exact same work, I have the
Yeah,
exact same salary, is just changing the title and those kind of things. Like they bother you quite a bit, right? Or if you want to get something done, you have to go to this person has to go to that person. Everybody has their opinion. It's like in the end, you stop making any innovations or any other things because it's just walking against brick walls always.
interesting. Interesting. Thank you for that insight. It's something I never really thought about before, but I'm also with you. I love how nimble the startup life is, how flexible things are, how fast things move.
Yeah.
And that's definitely my vibe. I haven't really worked for a large corporation, worked for GE for a co-op. But I didn't really get the full experience of what it's like to want to move and progress and be stopped by the company itself. I think
Yeah.
that's and the last thing I wanted to touch on and get your insights on about Yabbers before we move on was you said that you didn't like doing cold outreach, but there was a vibe around it. The team aspect was what made it fun.
Hmm.
And I would love for you to expand upon that because I think that's true with a lot of organizations who do cold calling. It's like, hey, it's the team and it's the games we play and it's laughing about the no's that makes this fun, not just the cold outreach.
Yeah, I think, I mean, for us, and I think it's in a lot of companies, like you do cold outreach when you're early in your career, right? When you're young. you can handle, I guess, a lot of no's. But what also happens, especially here in the Netherlands, is that people go out for drinks, I guess, with their work on a Friday or Thursday or I guess whatever day it is. So I guess those kind of moments where you're like, okay, well, just we'll laugh it off, I guess, at the end of the week, and then you have this drink, you forget about all those conversations, and Monday you just get back at it. I think that's nice, and like you started doing, I guess, like other activities, because that's the only thing a manager can really do to keep the vibe up, right? Just make sure you have fun, I guess, besides all the no's you're getting. So having lunches together or do some things, I guess, which breaks it a bit and which makes it fun. And for us, like, I mean, we had targets, and those targets had commissions against it, which made it fun as well. So,
from the
but
yeses.
yeah, from the yeses, like from the people you do close, and you do get good commissions at the end of the month. At one point, we were performing a bit too well, where they just decreased like the bonuses, stuff like that. So that's, I guess, that's the other side, right? If you do really well, that at one point they're gonna move the goalposts, and then they're gonna change things basically. So for us at one point, I think it was first individual only, then they made it individual and team basis. So like 60% of your target if you was based on individual performance, 40% on team performance, which made it also to, I guess, help your colleagues as well, which was nice.
Yeah, that does help the culture a lot. I
Yeah,
just someone the other day, and we were talking about good cultures versus bad cultures, and he was like, bad cultures happen when people don't share knowledge, and it's not a
yeah,
team sales team. It's just every individual fighting for their own commission, not helping each other out. So
yeah.
that's a good play to help build
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and I think in that case, it also comes with hiring, right? Like, what kind of people are you hiring? If you find this one person who goes for himself, like at one point, even though he might hit his targets, like it will end up being about culture. People will leave and don't like it. Like, I haven't seen it that much, but like I know how it can be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, so a couple questions that came to my mind off of this before we jump into your next phase. Would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
No, I don't. It's always funny. I don't even like. I'm pretty outgoing. So like I'm easy to step up to people. Like I think everybody has their own doubts. As in, like if people are already in a group, you can just always feel like, should I approach them or what should I say? But I'm pretty easygoing, just because I played sports, team sports, like all my life. I guess makes it just easier, I guess, as well, just to mingle and especially when you walk into a building and have to sell
Not knowing
stuff.
the language.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
becomes easier, I guess.
Okay. All right. So you can talk to people for sure. You're not afraid to jump in there and start a conversation. That's good. And the reason I bring that up because I wanted your opinion on if you thought salespeople would perform better or worse if they were introverted versus extroverted.
Yeah, I don't think I really have an opinion. Like I mean, you see that people having opinions, I guess, like being the type of person they are, right? I guess I never put myself in a bucket. Like I never know what does it mean exactly if you're in this bucket versus the other one, right? So I think um I don't think it matters that much as long as I guess like you're able to pick up the phone, or at least are able to talk to people, and you can relate to their problems and you can help them to fix an actual issue. So you don't have to be really outgoing. But if you're comfortable in having one-to-one conversations, or maybe one to three conversations or five, then you could be a good salesperson no matter, I guess, in which bucket you fall into, as long as you can help people to fix their problems, because that's in the end why you're doing sales. So it's not pushing things through their throat, is actually helping them to fix an issue.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing. You're there to advise and to help as a salesperson, not just to pitch,
Yeah,
which the salespeople struggle with. Sometimes they hop on the call and they're talking for 80, 90% of the call just about how cool
yeah,
their product is and their company is, but they're not listening and trying to understand the other person's problem and then trying to fix their problem with the solution that they have.
exactly. Yeah.
So wanted to mention that. Um, okay, cool. Let's dive into lead feeder and all the cool work you did there. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so When I was at Jarvis, I left. I had two really small side gigs where I was like a freelancer doing sales. And then I used Leadfeeder as a tool myself. So in short, they basically identify who visited the company's website, as in which company visited the website. And then from there, you're able to follow up on them to see if they want to purchase. So I used the tool in the freelancing gigs I had. Back in that day, you had that one button, apply on LinkedIn. It's like you just had to click that button and suddenly you apply to the job. So I did that for a role they had in the Netherlands. And I don't know what happened, but I had three Zoom calls and suddenly I was in Helsinki being onboarded to work at Leadfeeder. So it was a fun one. Like I wasn't looking for a role, but I was using their tools. So it was really easy, I guess, from both sides because I knew exactly the value. I already knew the tool itself, so it was really easy to get going, I guess. And I spoke the language they were looking for. Started off in sales, so basically did like sales slash partnerships, but it's like yeah, selling the tool, I guess. But then I was still the only person speaking Dutch, so at one point I sold quite a bit, so I had to also do the account management. Uh, so
You were closing all these deals that they couldn't, or you were bringing in all these deals that they couldn't close because they didn't speak the language.
yeah, or like they just needed sometimes somebody to talk to in their own language, right? Like it makes them feel more comfortable, I guess, because if you're just always buying these tools, and especially a couple of years back, you're just buying all these tools who you think are coming from the US and they don't have representation in your own language, then they're like, ah, should I buy this or should I buy the local competitor? But when they noticed, hey, there's actually a guy in the Netherlands working for this company, made things easier. So it's not pure to me, but it's also pure to I actually spoke the same language as they did.
Yeah.
Um, but then like I lived between customer success and sales for quite a bit. I think like maybe a year or a year and a half or something like that, where I didn't want to make a decision and I was kind of left open to, I guess, do whatever you want in a way where I was
That's
still
nice.
closing deals and I can follow up with them afterwards, which was kind of the position I wanted, right? Where I can sell honestly what the tool can do, and then I can help them to make them successful at the end. Because if you do either or, and somebody sells something which you might not be able to do, or you have to sell and then you have to hand them over. So this was for me like the perfect position, which I created, I guess, for myself.
That's good. Did you find that to be a problem when you just did account management or customer success, where the salesperson would sell something that the product genuinely did not do, and you had to kind of break the news to the customer after?
Yeah, I mean, like to fast forward a little bit, when I was at Leadfeeder, I became head of customer success. We had around like 30 people in the team. So I think we had like 15 customer success managers at one point. And when you analyze like the churn reasons of why people would leave, we even had a churn reason of like wrong expectations, basically. And that could be, and it's not just sales, right? It could be the marketing messaging, it could be sales indeed, but like a lot of them were, I guess, regarding that. And then it's really hard to actually save them, no matter the CSM, because if people come in with an expectation the tool can do and it can't do it for any reason, then you can't save it as a CS person.
Yeah. Go to your developers real quick. Can you build this feature in like 2 weeks for this
Yeah.
client? They thought that that's why they were buying this product. Yeah, that's definitely hard. And that's probably one of the issues around sales too, is some people just want to close deals, get their commission, and they'll say anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, and I mean, I think that happens in any organization as you get bigger, I guess, and especially when funded, like growth at all cost, also means that you're gonna buy or you're gonna hire sales people who are just trying to sell whatever they can, I guess. Sometimes even packages which didn't existed, things like that. So it's like it's always hard, I guess, if you just deal with one side and then you have to tell like, okay, well, we don't have that, or like how we're supposed to fix it, and then they just, I guess, like pull it, throw it over the fence, and then good luck with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's especially when you have commissions. I guess that's going to be in any organization because you can't always blame the salesperson either because they have to reach their goals. They have to reach their quota. They want to get their commission.
Hmm. And that's one thing that you mentioned in the last company that you worked for that I did want to touch on was changing the goalpost. It's one of the things I hate in sales
Yeah.
because you work so hard to build the systems, to figure out the messaging, to hit the goals, and then you hit it, and for like a week you're happy. Then your boss comes in and says, "Guess what? We actually need you to do this, or we're going to lower your commission because you're doing so well." And I hate that.
Yeah.
Have you come across that before?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if I did it myself, even as a CS leader, I guess, because it's sometimes really hard. Like when I put that hat on, because if you're gonna make these goals, right, and you're growing really fast and you're doing other things, like it's really hard to predict how things would go. So on one hand, you have to make it realistic, and on the other hand, like you want to make it, of course, in a way where they do have to work hard to actually get it. So it's like I get it for both sides. Like I did not like it, and I fully understand people do not like it when things move, I guess. And I can't remember, but I might have to do it once myself. Where it's like, yeah, wasn't actually like the good goalpost, I guess, to reach. So
That's
I guess
that's
it's
a balancing act for sure. Because yeah, if you're bad at setting goalposts and it
yeah,
turns out at a really low goal and your people only work 2 days out of the five because it's so easy to hit the goal, then that's a bad goal and you should, try and stretch your team a little bit. But
yeah, yeah.
uh yeah,
Yeah, and I think the further a company is, the easier it is to set like realistic goalposts, I guess. That's it as well. Because if you're early stage, then and you figure things out, you're hiring at all costs and you're starting to make like your first goalpost, then probably you get it wrong anyway the first time. So it always needs a bit of time to get it right.
yeah, that's for sure. It does make me want to put my innovation hat on and be like, how could we solve this goalpost problem? There's probably just a better KPI or maybe like an iterative check-in just to help the salespeople know, hey, the goalpost might change in 3 weeks because we're going to do like a review. I don't know. I'll solve it later, but all right. So lead feeder, you ended as a head of customer success, leading the customer success team, not really dealing with the sales side. And what caused you to step out of that role after, you kind of reached the top, I guess.
Yeah, like I wanted to build my own business, I guess. So during that time, being in sales or being a customer success manager still, I always got this question like, this is a great tool. Which tool should I use more? When you do all these demos a day, you get sick of that question. So that's when I decided to build like a website, which is called sales-marketing.co. Um, like I don't do anything with it right now. Site is still live, but in the good days, it had like 25,000 organic visitors per month. And what I did is I just listed the best sales and marketing tools on it. And then the idea was I'm going to make money by people clicking on a link to buy that tool. And then I'm going to get a kickback fee because I use affiliate links on it. Didn't really work out, I guess. I ran into a lot of issues with the affiliate marketing tools on the market. So I started to like a bit investigate, like, okay, well, what's going on? Trying to figure out like why are things going wrong? Couldn't figure things out. Get really frustrated along the way, and that's when I decided to basically build my own tool. So while working, I guess, full time in head of CS position, I also started build. Well, I didn't build myself. I had somebody build Redditus for me, basically. So when I left or when I gave my notice, and I gave it like months in advance. I said like I can't combine it anymore because I have to do sales calls during the day. People want to have calls with me from the team because if your team is 30, there's going to be a salary request. People need help, ad hoc request, things like that. And then when I'm on a sales call, which is not in my calendar, on the other side, at one
Mhm.
point like it creates friction and it's not good for anybody.
Mhm.
So that was the moment. I left basically where I wanted to focus fully on my own business.
Nice. I love that story. There's so much gold in that other startups can take away. It's okay to have a full-time job while you're building your thing, but there will be a friction point
Yeah.
between there will be a friction point around when your startup starts pulling you in a direction and needs more of your time and your business, the business that you're working for now is kind of holding you back. And that's when you jump out full time. And when it came to the finance piece, kind of going into like just your personal, like, how do I live kind of piece, how did you manage finances, your bank account situation? Was Reddit just bringing in money at that point? And how did you manage just the
No,
financial?
yeah. So I mean, I guess when I left, I had a really good salary, so that definitely would cover, I guess, my expenses to live plus building Reddit on the side. So I was kind of just putting my salary, I guess, towards the business. So that's how I lived, like before I quit my job. Then like with Veritas, we did an AppSumo launch, which got us some first revenue in, where you basically sell your software against a one-time fee, and then people get access to it. And then the good thing is you get like first users, you get some first money in,
Mhm.
which was nice, I guess, to at least get things going because we're a marketplace, so we needed to get the first users in on one side to get the other one. Um, and that's kind of like how I did it. Like I had some stock options for the company for Lead Feeder. So when I left, I had to buy them, and then luckily 3 months later, they got acquired. Like I should have stayed 3 months longer, but I didn't know they were actually um, talking about acquiring. So hindsight, I should have stayed longer. But in the end, it was the perfect time for me. So I don't feel sorry for it, I guess. And that's kind of like how I funded the beginning of Reddit.
Okay, gotcha. That is really interesting. Tell me a bit more about you mentioned a term and it kind of flew out, but the term in which you sell your software products as a
Oh yeah.
one-time for your companies. I think that's really interesting, and that's something that a lot of startups can take away too. So tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, people call refer to LTD, lifetime deal. So a typical SaaS product is a subscription-based model, right, where you pay monthly or annual for to getting access to software. There's a lot of platforms out there, AppSumo being the biggest one, where you can just list your software and then you can do an LTD deal, as they call it. So giving, like, I think we did, for example, we charged $50 or $60, for example, one time, and people would basically get access to our tool lifetime. So it's a really bad business model, but
Oh,
it's
for
really
sure.
it's really good to get your first users. So if you have a product which is really scalable, then you don't have to worry about it too much, right? Like it's really nice to get those first users. Like they're not, in my opinion, the best users, I guess, because the people who buy these deals, they don't want to pay full price, but they do want to get all the features. So they have the highest expectations against the lowest price, basically. So I think the biggest thing is make sure that you don't see them as your ideal customer profile and you build all the features they want. Make sure you have a clear product vision and I guess leverage them to get users in, find bugs, fix things, get your first money in, but don't build everything around them, I guess.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good, and it's a term I never heard of. I'm excited to research it a bit more.
Yeah.
LTDs, lifetime deals. Remember it. So that's how you got your first dollars in the door and started building traction for your marketplace. Then what happened?
Yes, like something happened which I didn't want to happen, I guess, but we got the first users in. Like I started filling the first subscriptions, which was really nice. Like our subscriptions then were only $39 a month, so it's really hard to get like a good living out of that. But we were selling like on a consistent basis, which was nice, getting more users in, so traction was looking good. But then we realized that we built the app in a complete wrong way, I guess. We built it a bit too MVP style, so we used a template in our front end. At one point, bugs were happening where we didn't know why they were happening, how they were happening, and how to actually fix it, even though it was sometimes just a simple button which didn't work. And it was a hard time to figure out like why.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think I left in February. In June, oh no, yeah, in June, this started already. So I think we thought like, okay, well, we might just fix the bugs and then manage. And then in December, we said like, okay, we're just gonna rebuild almost the entire core of the app. So we took 6 months to rebuild the entire app. Took a bit more of my savings than I wanted, but then at least I had the product and the core I was looking for. So like if you can avoid that mistake I made, it's gonna save you a lot of time and money, that's for sure. So um, go for the
So
long term, I guess, and
if you were
keep that
gonna
in
do it
mind.
again, you would start from scratch as far as building a dashboard and a product to
Yeah,
do.
Yeah, maybe now even I guess like if you want to get them really early validation, you could use the no code tools, right? Where you can just have that in the back end and then build your own front end, for example. But what we did is now we completed the back end completely from the front end, which was really nice because then we knew exactly why things were happening. Like if I would build something again, I would do it like that right from the beginning.
Gotcha. Interesting. All right. That's definitely interesting because some startups are like, hey, if it already looks nice and there's a front end that's already built, let me just get that, tap it in here, and then
Yeah.
I'm launched in a week. But it's not scalable, you're saying. And you'll have
Yeah,
a
for us it started giving issues basically. So it's like we and now things are moving a lot faster. Like if we want to implement new features, things like that, we have the core, we have like how do you call it, like components, so we can just reuse things in the app, which we built ourselves. So that's why it took 6 months, but now development it just goes a lot faster.
okay, awesome. You have a very interesting story because you haven't raised money around any of these ventures and Reddit just in
Yeah.
general. But you have how many developers on your team?
We now have two full-time developers. Yeah.
Two full-time developers. When you started, so you still in lead feeder and you wanted to build this new tool, you had to hire developers now because you're not a developer yourself.
Yeah.
Did you just use that out of pocket?
Yeah. Yeah. So I just paid it for myself and like I didn't know where to start, I guess, because I mean, in the Netherlands, salaries for developers are pretty high. So my thinking was, okay, I worked fully remote in this company already, so I'm not gonna hire somebody in my own country, which costs a lot of money. So in the end, I ended up hiring like via a platform, which I paid way too many fees. But then when I started working with a developer, he started building like the first MVP. At one point, like he had a friend who came in. They're now both co-founders, and we kind of moved away from the platform. So I had the friend work for a while the other one was like sitting out his contract where he couldn't work for me without being with that agency. So it was a bit of a stretch, I guess, but we managed. So the way I also funded things is like because I had 100% shares, right? I was solo founder, so I couldn't keep paying salaries like really high. So what I did is like lower salaries because they did want to have, of course, salary to survive, I guess to call it like that.
Yeah.
But I would give them shares in return, basically. So I guess for the salary they dropped, they get shares in return. So that's how they got also to become co-founders.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha. So you kind of substituted the
Yeah,
extra stock, and
yeah,
that's really smart as well. And you made these developers champions of your product, right?
yeah, yeah. Like at the beginning, I think I made the mistake of not doing it, I guess. And I kind of changed it maybe this year in June where we had a team week and I just went through all the basics you can think of, I guess. Um, but I think at the beginning when I hired them as freelancers, like they didn't know completely what they were building and they were just doing what I asked, which makes sense. But then I think in June when we had this week where I kind of explained like why are we building this? How is this supposed to work? What are the clients asking? Like what is our ICP? What problem are we fixing? What are we trying to achieve? And I did it with the current two developers, and then I think that sparked something where they were thinking like, okay, now we know actually what we want to build, and they come up with a lot more suggestions, I guess, than what they did before. And what we did, I guess, like just a couple of weeks back, is we came together again, flew all to Hungary. We had around like 35 client calls in that week. And that's
Wow.
where they got a lot of feedback as well. So like I did all the talking, but then they were in the call and then we could basically discuss after the call, like, okay, well, what he said this because he wants X, Y, Z. I could give a bit more behind it. And like now I get so much, I guess, like suggestions, I guess, like, hey, should we do this or why don't we do that? It's like, yeah, this is clever. Like, I love this. So,
Yeah.
not champions from the beginning, but they're definitely becoming champions right now.
So you kind of learned how to build a team and build a culture in which people
Yeah.
know your vision, and everyone kind of owns that vision. and
Yeah.
then more passionate, they start putting forth other ideas and everything like that. I love that, man. I love that. And that's a great way to get the development done at the beginning and you know, continue to grow the platform. So cool. I have so many questions, so many things I want to. Oh my gosh, this is so good. But I recognize we only have 10 more minutes for the podcast before you have to get going. I did want to talk about the growth that you've seen with Redditus thus far and where you guys are at right now. And just walk us through quickly kind of what that hockey stick curve or like up down kind of roller coaster curve looked like.
Yeah, I mean, we're still really early stage.
Mhm.
I think the thing we're doing is we have a freemium model, and we charge based on the value our clients are getting, like, which is, I think, a good thing. That's also a bit my bottleneck being head of CS, I guess. In my previous role, I want to drive so much value that I kind of undercharge, I guess, the product we have. So we started off at $39 a month, and now I doubled the pricing like a couple of months back to $71 a month. But we still have the freemium model. So a lot of the clients we have, I guess, started in the free model. They hit a certain tier where they generate like 1K monthly recurring revenue via our platform, and then they have to upgrade. So like when you look at our MOR, I think we're now at like 4K ish, so really low still. But when you look at the growth of the network, which is for me the most important part, because it's the end value, like that's really nice. Like the number of affiliates is growing 11% month over month. We now have around like 7,300. At the end of the next year, we're gonna have 25,000 people recommending B2B SaaS companies, basically. So um, the thing we're doing, like we do need to get more money in because we're not profitable yet. Like that's my biggest milestone right now. And what we're doing is because we now built, we went through this long ride in building this network. We're gonna make it like a two-sided marketplace. So we have 7,300 affiliates where they can basically apply to become an affiliate of a program. But we're gonna turn things around where a SaaS company can basically see, filter, and contact the affiliates on the other side. And becoming a bit American here, I basically just created a mock-up. Um, had those 35 client calls where we showed them, okay, this is what we're going to build. Would you be interested in this? And now we actually started to sell the mock-up in a way like we're going to build this. It's going to be ready in February. Do you want to join the launching program? And we just got the first clients who said yes to it. And this is like we sold it against a discounted price of 60%, but still the base value is $200 monthly recurring revenue, and then they have to pay up front for the for an annual package. So that's going to help us to build up the bank account.
Continue to fund the operation. That's amazing, man. That's super super cool. You're really like taking routes. So yeah, in the American startup land, it's like okay, get users and raise money, and then get more users and raise more money. Have you thought about that path, or have you thought about crowdfunding? Because you have a pretty large following now,
Yeah,
and potentially do a crowdfunding or even donation type funding route.
yeah. If people want to donate, feel free. No,
Go ahead.
so go ahead. No, so like I did talk to some investors, like people call them pre-seed, seed investors. Like I don't know how you should call them, but I mean the typical answer I got is in I asked them at the like I'm pretty straightforward, I guess. Like I got twice the answer as in when I talked to them, like, okay, we'll come back when you have 10K monthly recurring revenue. I said, well, you do pre-seed or seed, right? Yeah, but come back when you have 10K. So after getting that advice maybe two times, three times, I asked at the next investors, I asked, do you invest in the stage we're in? This is our MLR, this is the client base, this is the product. Do you invest in the stage we're in? Yeah, we do. So I had a couple of conversations, come back when you have 10K MLR. It's like, okay, no. So I got was sick of it, as in you created a pitch deck, you have these conversations, you spend a lot of time on it, and in the end, it kind of hurt like the growth we were in. I was like, okay, just I'm not gonna worry about it anymore. Like when I have 10K MR, I probably don't need them anymore anyway. So why don't I just focus on that? I might consider still doing like this community round as you mentioned, because like I do run my own podcast as well. getting to know all these people who wrote a book, which a lot of people read probably when listening to this. So I was like, I should do something with my network, as in, why don't I just do a really small round where I get people invested in the company and like make them part of my success, I guess.
Mhm.
So that's probably something I will investigate between Christmas and New Year's. Okay, how do I set it up? What are the terms? Can I do it with the Dutch entity we have? What are, I guess, the legal implications? And what price do you put on the startup? I guess like
Well, valuation cap. Yeah.
exactly. Like it's, I mean, there's so many different calculations. I had so many podcast shows regarding this as well, but in the end, it's yeah, what the crazy person gives for it, I guess, as we say in Dutch. That's kind of still the phase we're in right now, right? If you on the revenue, then we're probably still pretty worthless in a way. But if you look at the potential, then it's going to be really interesting. So it's like a balance.
Balancing act, yeah, and kind of, risk on all sides. But I definitely think with the type of business you have of the marketplace and trying to build a following for all the reasons, it could definitely make a lot of sense for
Yeah.
you to go the route. So yeah, look into it. If you need any help, I'd love to share the resources I've come across. And also want to be a part of your success story because I am on Redditus and I have other clients of mine that I'm like, hey, we need to get you on Redditus so that way we can help, blah, 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 blah. We'll talk about that later. But all right, so I want to pick my last question wisely. And then I do want you to give an overview of Redditus and affiliate marketing. I'll
Mhm.
just so people know, because I actually had no idea what affiliate marketing was before Amir connected us, and I think it's amazing kind of growth technique. So, because that's on my mind, I would like you to answer a question around marketing or sales when it comes to startup growth. Should a startup focus more on marketing aspects? So, putting stuff on LinkedIn, maybe ads and stuff like that, or the sales aspect, cold calls, door to door, all that stuff.
Yeah, I think it fully depends on, I guess, like what is your average deal size? Like, if your product led growth, if your deal size is maybe, to pick a number, I guess, lower than $1,000 per month, then you probably want to focus more on the marketing aspect. If it's higher than 1,000, like your sales led, then we have to focus more on the sales part. So it all starts, I guess, with the numbers. Like in our case, for example, like the subscription started $71 a month. Like there's no way for me to probably make up for the cost if I would just have like a team of people doing cold calls, because they have to bring in their salary back. But having selling like $71 per month packages, that's going to be tough. Like they have to sell a lot to actually earn their own salary, and then we still have to make money at the end as well. So look at your average deal size basically, and then figure out what is working best for you. But I mean, my personal preference would always be like do marketing as well, like be out there, build a brand. That's what we're doing right now. We might do it a bit too early because normally you would do this later down the line, but in the end, this is going to help us later down the line. So we're building this brand. Like I now get recognized at events where it's like, and people say like, "Hey, we're using Redditus" when they see my sweater. So it's like the brand is out there. So I don't think you can, yeah, start too late with that.
Gotcha. Yes. I completely agree. And we just now started with Suade to do a lot more marketing and just like my own personal LinkedIn is becoming my just voice
Yeah,
to the world and getting reactions and just telling people my thoughts is all something helpful to get your brand image out there. So
yeah.
awesome, man. Well, tell us about Redditus, tell us about affiliate marketing and why people should care.
Yeah, so I mean, you just asked a question, right? Should you do sales or marketing? Like, I think both of them are always direct marketing, right? You have your ideal customer profile and you want to target them directly. Like, what affiliate marketing is like indirect marketing. So you're asking somebody else to do the marketing for you. So think about associations, agencies, consultants, publishers, bloggers, influencers. There's always people who have access to your ideal customer profile in bulk. And that's basically where affiliate marketing comes in. You ask them to start promoting you. And when they deliver you paid clients, which is important, purely paid clients, you're going to give them a kickback fee in return. Like we at Reddit is purely focused on B2B SaaS. So what that means is it's higher ticket prices because it's B2B, and it's recurring commissions because it's SaaS, or software as a service. So that's why I love affiliate marketing within B2B SaaS, because everybody gets better from it long term wise, basically. So if somebody would start recommending Suade and then they would use an affiliate link, they could get X% for X amount of months. So in the end, they do get a really good number at the end of the funnel, basically. So that's basically affiliate marketing, recommending a software and getting a kickback fee in return.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, definitely appreciate that. And super excited to have you on the show. How can people like get in contact with you and see your content?
Yeah, so I mean, contact me on LinkedIn, but make sure you mention that you listen to this podcast, because I mean, not to brag, but I still have 300 open requests, and if people don't leave a message, then most likely I wouldn't accept if I don't see any value in it. So make sure you say you listen to this podcast, connect with me on LinkedIn. There's only one Joran Hofman, so that should be easy to find.
Nice. And I'll definitely put that in all our socials. So thank you so much, Joran, for joining us. This was super insightful. So many good nuggets came out of this for me and hopefully for our viewers. And I hope you have a very Merry Christmas.
Likewise, thanks, Matthew.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.